Welcome to Weather Impact Live. Meteorologist Mike Pringley from Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Robert Spetta, meteorologist from Duval. Yeah, good to see you, Robert. Hey, we got a very active day. We're not just talking tropics, but plenty of rain around. We're being drenched here in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of our little weekend conversations, help people plan out their weekend here. Because today, we kind of have this lineup where we have this broad trough from Jacksonville, yes, over towards Tampa as well. We're looking at showers, we're looking at thunderstorms, and we're already tracking it here this morning on radar, and this is going to continue all weekend out there, Mike. So, yeah, I'll let you take it away here off the bat. Let's get kind of an overview of what's happening.
We're good. Well, my phone's blown up. I got a lot of folks in Duval, Clay County. They've got boating plans today. Let me head over to the wall and take a look at this, and they want to know the best timing for the rain here. And I think if you're on the west side here in Tampa, we are looking for the highest chances of rain as we head through the morning into the mid-afternoon. So really that 10 to 4 spot. And then you see Jacksonville farther north. It looks like, that Gulf Coast sea breeze will catch up to you in Duval, especially by late day and this evening. But yes, even a morning round of rain already coming through sections of Jacksonville. That's why my phone's lighting up from the intracoastal to the beaches there. But I think there will be a window for a break. But here in Tampa, man, it's been one deluge after another. And it looks like that break in the rain for us, will be late today. So you see the timing at 4:10, 4 o'clock. So we lower that rain chance to 30% with temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And then, yes, we send that rain to Jacksonville with that 80% chance and 81 as you head into late afternoon. What's happening? Robert, talking about that trough. What was left of a front, because after all, it is still summertime. These fronts have a hard time moving to the south. Got a little more low pressure in the atmosphere. That's a magnet for moisture that's coming up, and that will continue to bring us rounds of rain, not just for our Saturday, but for our Sunday. So things may calm down as we head through the evening, even in Jacksonville. But then, yes, tomorrow morning, here we go again, 7 o'clock, watching the West Gulf Coast sea breeze once again, watching Tampa, watching that big plume of moisture coming in. And unfortunately, tomorrow, some of that rain could linger even later for us in Tampa. And then Jacksonville, of course, getting ready for some more of those showers, especially in the afternoon. Very high rain chances with temperatures back into the low to mid 80s. So that's going to be the theme this weekend. We're picking our spots to have some of those dry hours in the beautiful places we call home here. So officially for Tampa, we got that weather impact alert today and Sunday through 4 o'clock. So we're talking about 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., the time frame for most of the rain, although it could linger a little later tomorrow. We'll fine-tune to that as we get closer. Impact lightning. All right, Robert and I always talk about lightning safety. We start with the lightning, In fact, we had another home yesterday struck by lightning here in Tampa, and a lot of folks have been struck by lightning over the summer months. Then we've got the localized flooding, We're in a flood risk again today. And then we're talking about one downpour after another. So it's not just the splash and dash. We're talking several hours of rain, a train of rain, one after another. So we're going to be streaming here across the area from coast to coast. We look at radar, and it's going to light up as we head through the rest of the afternoon. But we do have a break. Latest model data is verifying as we head toward 4, 5 o'clock, Hillsborough, Pinellas, Pasco County, things will get better. But look at these temperatures. This is one of our coolest days in quite some time. With all the rain and the clouds around, we're talking low to mid 80s out there. And then for the evening plans, oh yes, I've got my tickets. We've got the Buccaneers, hosting the Buffalo Bills. And you have Buffalo Bill fans involved. It's always going to be a fun time out at Ray J. So I'm looking forward to it. We're talking a much lower chance of rain, temperatures in the low to mid 80s. So for the weather impact for our football game, notice I've lowered it to the low impact. That includes the kickoff, and we're talking temperatures in the low 80s. And as we look at futurecasts here, just one more close look as we head through the rest of the afternoon. Again, a lot of downpours. That includes areas of Pasco, Pinellas, Hernando County, and you see the bright colors here. So 1, 2, 3 inches of rain across the area, and the showers will trend inland as we head into late afternoon. So if you're out toward areas of Lakeland, Lake Wales, you'll still see a few showers at 4 o'clock, but again, things will start to improve for you as well for those cookouts or any evening plans you have. And if you want to head to the beach for one of those classic sunsets, I think we'll get to see that, especially for Sand Key. Flood risk, there it is. That includes North Florida, all the way to Tampa, Bradenton, Sarasota. And again, we're talking 1 to 3 inches plus of rain here. So Robert, here we're watching the rain really fill in here across the West Coast, and looks like it's coming your way with a very active afternoon.
Yeah, and not just coming our way, but already here. We already got the storms this morning. In fact, we have a weather impact alert in place for us here on the First Coast for today and tomorrow due to the same setup out there, Mike. So, yeah, actually, I would like to kind of talk about and show you guys some views. So if you don't mind tossing me up on the phone camera here so we can kind of get a good look at what we have going on in our neck of the woods. Or Mike. Hi, Mike.
We're good.
There we go.
Take it away, bud.
Hey, so let's toss up this graphic here because we have a weather impact alert still in place. Strong storms, heavy rainfall out there. Big thing is you just want to have your backup plans if you're going to be going out and about. As Mike just mentioned there, you're going to have breaks on the West Coast, and the same deal is for the East Coast. We're going to have some breaks in there. It's not going to be continuous rainfall, nor is it going to be one and done. And, talking about beach plans, this is a live look at Jacksonville Beach. This was crowded just a few moments ago, and good news, everybody skedaddled off of the beach there this morning. Still some surf for the surfers to get at it, but the problem is you got those storms, and this specific cell has been putting out some pretty decent lightning. We're talking about that trough, and Mike, you mentioned kind of that front coming down. I like to call this trough the tail of Aaron, and hear me out, because it's not directly associated with it. Aaron's well gone, but it's that cooler, drier air mass that tried to punch in from the north. And as you just mentioned a moment ago, it kind of gets disrupted and diffused. So you're not really seeing a front per se, but what we are seeing is this big trough of instability, and thus those storms. And we can zoom right in on this map right here. You've got flood advisory in place for Duval County, Nassau County, all of southeastern areas of Georgia. That flood advisory is actually for Baker, Duval, and Nassau. A flood watch is in place for all of southeast Georgia. And then we just zoom right in, and you can see the reason why. Already looking at these showers pushing through. They're in southern areas of Duval over towards eastern St. Johns County. And this is just wave number one of persistent showers going to be seeing on and off throughout the day. Mike, you want to jump in at any point here? Let's talk about this real quick. And I know the general viewer doesn't understand what a skewed T is.
Man,
but if you're somebody who's watching a 30-minute update on the weather, I assume you're probably a little geeking out with us.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing you kind of notice with this skew T? This is out of Jacksonville here this morning, Mike.
Oh, yeah. First of all, I want to give a shout out to National Weather Service Jacksonville. Love those guys there. We've sent balloons up together. We have a lot of good times there. Here in Tampa, they do a great job at the Weather Service. So this really helps us fine-tune the forecast every day. This is the data that goes into some of our models. So as you look at the lines, when you see those lines tightly packed, almost like when we say when you have the isobars tightly packed, you have a lot of wind. Well, we got tightly packed lines, and we got a lot of saturation in the atmosphere. So when you're talking about moisture at the low levels, mid levels, Robert, that gets our adrenaline flowing, so to speak, as meteorologists. You got that arrow going. It does look like this moisture is just going to be being wrung out over us throughout the weekend. So we've got a high confidence that we're talking about not just your typical Florida rain this weekend, but taking it to the next level with saturation and, yes, one downpour after another, buddy.
And the other thing you notice on this, too, is not just the overall saturation in the atmosphere, but it's this side, the basically showing where the balloon went as it went through the upper levels, and it just slowly drifted towards the east, didn't go very fast. You can see our upper level winds are only about 10 to 20 knots throughout the atmosphere. So we combine all this together. We have a very saturated, very moist, very humid atmosphere. We have slow-moving mid to upper level winds. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to kind of look at this and go, well, if that means it's going to rain, that means these showers are going to be heavy at times and very slow moving. And this is why, when the people say, meteorologists just look at weather models, that is the thing that drives me the craziest, the most out of everything here. Look at a lot more. And reason why we have those storms and we have a weather impact alert in place today, it's not just because the models, as you've shown here, is showing those storms, but also those other factors. It is a humid atmosphere. It's a moist atmosphere with slow-moving storms that could provide that short-time heavy rain, and you could be looking at ponding at the very least on some of your roadways out there. And that's why, actually, in our neck of the woods, we have that flood watch in place across our entire area. Mike, I also want to mention this, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it as well, but dare I say, could we have some, maybe not pumpkin spice and flannel shirts type weather by midweek, but maybe for North Florida, could we have some
60s.
taste of autumn?
Yeah,
I think so. I think some drier air.
I think so, and you see it coming right down, and it's gonna. You see where the deep blue is. Enough dry air should come down to lower your dew points. Where, I see plenty of 60s for areas like Waycross and interior Georgia, even to Folkestone, and north side. I could see the airport getting in closer to the upper 60s and near 70. Here in Tampa, I got excited this morning because I said, hey, we could have lows on the Nature Coast. This is a big deal for us, Robert. You know, we're used to being near 80 every morning. I said we could have lows near 70 degrees here. So for us, every little bit helps. And you see that dew point scale. We talk about the 70s and the 80s, very tropical dew points. But if they fall into the 60s, you know, those low temperatures love to fall to those dew points a lot of times, okay? And you can see when we see that little dip, that tells us it's going to feel a little bit better, and it'll feel better at night with some of those lower temperatures.
And I got one trivia right here for you, Mike, before we kind of go back to the double box here. And this is for everybody at home, and specifically for Jacksonville. But, Mike, you came from Jacksonville, so you probably know the answer to this, or at least have a good idea.
I'm still
On
there.
average, when is our first day below 80 degrees Fahrenheit in Jacksonville, Florida? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so this is an average, though, average first day, because I always tell folks in Jacksonville.
On average, the first day.
Average, I got to go a little later. I know we get the first cool front in middle of October. I'm going to go, but this is below 80. Uh-oh, this is a little trick. You take these trivias to the next question, to the next level. I'm going to think, boy, it's tough. I know November, I'm going to go, my first gut instinct, I'll have to go with D. It might be C.
With what? D?
I'm going to go with D. Yeah, November.
You know, I guess maybe I worded it wrong, but on average, based on the date I got, it is B, October 13th.
Oh, the first
but
day.
D, you're definitely sufficiently within that.
Okay, yeah, I was going with averages or climatology, but that's fine. Yeah, that works. And then December 2nd, that's when we can sometimes get that frost, especially Lake City in interior areas along the I-75 corridor. That's when we really start to feel a little bit of winter here. But I always circle the last week of November, first week of December, on the first coast for the frost. And then here in Tampa, we run about 3 to 4 weeks later is what I noticed. So I'm outside. I take my road trips to the north to get my frost, do my frost angels, and I come back to Tampa. And then Tampa, and once we get to about Christmas week, late December, early January, that would be our frost time. So you can see the big differences between North Florida and Central Florida for sure.
What's the name of that town? There's a town near Tampa, right, that's called Never Frost. What is it?
Let's see.
Frost free or
Frost Haven.
Frost proof. Excuse me. See, frost proof. Yes.
I was thinking of Winter Haven, but frost proof works. Yeah, frost proof.
Oh, there you go.
They're literally frost proof most of the year here. There's been, let's see, winter 2023, 2024. I didn't even see a frost where I was at in Tarpon Springs. So there's many that go frost free and are frost proof here. But I'm looking forward to some of those cooler days, Robert, for sure. They'll be here before we know it, right?
Yeah, they'll be here before we know it. At least that kind of hint at autumnal air out there. So, I mean, we take what we can get, right?
Exactly.
We are still well within the tropics season at the very least, though. And we still have a couple other areas out there. I think that's what the graphics you just had pulled up.
Yeah, speaking of tropics, I think, I'll head to the wall. We'll take a little thing. We'll do a little analysis here together, and we'll go to the wall here. Jeff Lemaster, our great director here, takes good care of us. Thank you. Yes, thank you, sir. All right, we go over here. We've got the tropical update, and I had my producers, Robert, on standby. I said, just in case, just be ready at the top of the 10. You know how National Hurricane Center, they're going to send out, it's going to be a named system. So this would be Fernan, where you see the red, the 100% chance. There's Bermuda, there's the southeast United States, there's our home, sweet home Florida. But now looking likely as the hurricane hunters take off at 2 o'clock this afternoon from San Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. They'll get out there about 2:30, and I think they'll verify at least a tropical depression, if not a tropical storm. So that's what we're looking. But that flow and the overall flow that we've seen that has protected us for the last few weeks still in place, where it would curve more to the north and then to the northeast. But there's a second wave we're watching here this morning, and that's a little farther south. So this has been lowered a little bit, 10, 20% over the next 7 days for development. This wave is heading to the west. It's a little farther south, so it's out of that steering flow. So this could actually hold together. If it holds together is the question. As it moves to the west, could enter the Caribbean, and we'll keep an eye on it. But right now, as we've been talking along, there's a lot of obstacles for these systems. So I think, first of all, Fernand will be okay. It's going out of the drier Saharan dust and moving into an area more favorable. And then for this one, yeah, I think it's going to be moving so fast, and there's some wind shear down there in the Caribbean. So we'll see if it even survives its trek into the Caribbean and what it does from there. But as we look at our satellite radar composite, Robert, I'm seeing a little bit better development here. You can see the convection, the big thunderstorms around the center, getting a little better organized. So that's what the hurricane hunters are going to be looking for, that circulation, to see if we can give this a name. And it's a French name, Fernand, okay? And it's likely to move, I think it's going to move to the east of Bermuda, but again, Bermuda's got to watch it very carefully. And as we look at our hurricane names, we'll just go to this before we get back to Robert. We've had, of course, 2, 4, 5, all the way to Aaron. Fernand would be the next, okay? And then we got Gabrielle. So the question, I'll put Robert on the hot seat. I think we'll have Fernand, but will we have Gabrielle for Labor Day? I'll let you think about that. We'll come back to the maps and let Robert analyze what we're seeing here in the tropics here. Robert, first of all, we'll go back to that graphic that does show 100% chance, it looks like, of at least a tropical depression by later today.
Yeah, and my thoughts, are we going to have a Gabrielle? Maybe for Labor Day? I don't think so, to be honest. I think I'm being optimistic here. I think that those storms are probably going to hook off towards the north. They're going to stay relatively they're going to stay relatively weak. Yeah. Especially the southern one. I agree. It's just it is got too much shear on it. It's surrounded by Saharan dust. That's just going to absolutely kind of rip it apart here. And in fact, I'll just show you the spaghetti plots for everybody at home, because everybody loves their spaghetti plots.
I like spaghetti.
Let's throw me up on the full screen here. Oh, you know it. Hey, and then there you go. So we got this, the one going towards northeast of Bermuda. All the models are suggesting that's going to happen. So let's say that does become a named storm. It's not even like an Aaron where it's going to kick off waves. It's just, nah. I'm not impressed. And then the other one, that further southerly track, kind of what you would expect with a weaker storm. It's also just getting absolutely beat up by Saharan dust, which is going to keep it kind of relatively weak on that southerly track. And this is just showing that Saharan dust, which is almost just kind of flowing with it, and it just moves across the Caribbean there. Ready. So, yeah, it's this just plume. And then look at that next plume coming off the west coast of Africa.
Bring it on.
And this is why I think that even through the upcoming week, it's going to be just keeping everything kind of at bay out there, Mike.
Yeah, I was doing some updates this week. You and I do a lot of TV, we do radio, and I was still saying, we take it a day at a time, Robert. But we just come back to these graphics you were talking about. You showed the Saharan dust. I've got a wind shear graphic here from the Euro, and I'm thinking, if we're in Florida, we're not looking for any big chances of any development close to us or any big threats, at least through Labor Day was my call. But again, as we head toward just after Labor Day, that could change. But look at all the wind shear as we look at the Caribbean here. You see the deep greens going across here. So anything that's trying to develop will likely be torn apart here. But one area to watch, it looks like a very active pattern for fronts. Across the United States, there's going to be a big cold blast next week. You can kind of see the jet stream here. And a lot of times when we get these cold blasts this time of year, cold relatively speaking, of course, they can maybe have lows in the 40s and 50s in the Midwest. Colder on land and inland will tend to bring some tropical trouble closer to home. So nature likes to tip the balance. So with active cold fronts, it looks like, as we head into the first part of September, that could draw up some trouble closer to home, maybe into the Gulf and the Caribbean. But that's still a long way away. I still think in the short term, my call is we're okay at least through Labor Day.
Yeah, and that's a very good teleconnection. That's a fancy word for saying that typically when one thing happens, another thing happens. And it's a really good kind of analysis on there, Mike. Mike, I did notice that you said you had some photos of the beach erosion.
Well,
did you still have those?
They're still being loaded. But I was walking, see Michler's Landing, and it was just big chunks of the beach were taken out. So unfortunately, I can't show that right now. But before the show, I was letting you know that was. Pretty
I got
impressive.
some photos.
I would love to see some photos. Let's go to your pictures because we can talk more about Aaron. That would be wonderful. If you have them.
Yeah, I got some photos from our weather watchers out there. And first off, this is from this morning where we actually had some decent storms. I like this shot.
Yeah, Brenda.
This is from Brenda.
She's she needs her own calendar, weather calendar. She does it all. She knows how to.
Oh my goodness!
She takes the best pictures. So
what you know what pier we're looking at here then, right, Mike?
Well, it's hard to see from here. She's up toward Amelia Island. I'm trying to make out where we're looking at.
So
here.
yeah, you're right. It's Fernandina Beach.
Okay.
That's the pier.
Yes.
And then also another shot from Bob, another amazing photographer, always sending us stuff in. These were our sunrise shots this morning. Talk about just a painting out there this morning. I love it. It's just almost like this mural. Now, I do want to show you this, though. This is also from Fernandina, right after Aaron hit.
There it is.
And this was a little bit of that beach erosion.
That's what I was taking. Yeah, I have a couple pictures of me there and just these big escarpments and shelves of beach missing there. So, unfortunately, again, a lot of beach erosion took place as well. As far as the surf from Aaron, it looked like the surf was closer to the 6 foot range, 5 to 6. I know we had a forecast of 6 to maybe as high as 10 feet. What was your estimate on the surf? The peak was it 6 to 7?
Yeah, we had some up there about 8 to 9.
Okay.
And some of the bigger ones actually showed up the day after Aaron hit. So Thursday, pretty much, as they moved away, and Friday. And I think one of the reasons for that, at least the big rollers we were seeing, is because the wind started coming offshore. So it wasn't churning the ocean into a washing machine. So as Aaron pulled away, he had an offshore wind, and it actually kind of cleaned up the waves. And a lot of the videos I'm seeing of surfers getting out at it was the day after Aaron passed by, where you still had that powerful swell, but you didn't have the wind that was kind of just ripping them all apart there. So kind of a little mixed bag. But that beach erosion, definitely a pain. You know, one thing that I always try to stress, and I know it seems silly, but just don't let your kids play on that escarpment type deal, because that is loose sand and it can slide down. I've actually seen reports of kids getting buried and stuff like that.
We had that
where the loose sand just kind of gave way.
Yeah, and there was something news. I'm trying to remember the story exactly where. I know it was in Florida, where the beach rescues weren't even for the rip currents. It was people falling and hurting themselves. Big chunks of the beach were missing, so they were falling down. So imagine all the folks ready to rescue folks. It was for, due to the beach erosion. So that's great advice there. And of course, we're also watching for the sea turtles. I saw a lot of sea turtle areas roped off, not just Michler's Landing, but here in Tampa. So Sand Key, when I do my runs here, tons of sea turtles ready to hatch. We got to stay away from them and let nature run its course, right? The beauty of nature, because sea turtles.
Oh, you know, this was one of the news we had this morning, one of our top stories. Somebody, it frustrates me beyond belief. Somebody let their dog off their leash and attacked one of the nests as the hatchlings were coming out.
Okay.
And I also found out if you disturb a sea turtle nest, the fines can run up to $100,000.
Okay.
So even if you are not,
that's interesting.
yeah. So good, especially if you are actively disturbing and killing sea turtles. I mean, come on.
And if you live on the beach, also
there's a reason why we love Florida. You know?
And if you live on the beach, what Aunt Joy and I do, we make sure we have the blinds down. Once the sun comes down and such, you pull the blinds down, so you don't want any of that artificial light on the beach as well. So there's a lot of things you can do. And of course, we have it on the website at First Coast News and also here at 10 Tampa Bay. I was looking at wave height. Speaking of waves here, Robert, here in the Weather Center, I just pulled up. So a lot of surfers are wondering, so if we get Fernand, will we get a repeat performance? And at this time, based on it going much farther east, much weaker system, I'm not seeing a big increase in some of that surf across areas of Jacksonville, Mayport, Jacks Beach area up into southeast Georgia. So it doesn't look like we've got quite the wave action and energy we saw last week for sure. This is the next 10 days, of course.
Yeah, maybe some gentle rollers about 1 to 2 feet. You know, if you're just getting your feet wet and surfing, they might be your type of swells. But yeah, it's going to be nothing like what we've seen out there with Aaron. And yeah, and the storm's already moving towards the north. I think this is going to be kind of a blimp on the radar as it pulls away. Definitely not the type of name that would get retired. My question is, do you think Aaron's going to be retired?
I was looking at that, and I called it a historical storm. So I'm going to be in the camp, yes. Earliest Category 5 hurricane on record outside the Gulf and Caribbean, because you like that fact. First Category 5. We had to go back to, 2007, something crazy like that. I mean, it was a long time. It was 18 years. And, of course, Aaron, unfortunately, we had fatalities all the way out toward the Cabo Verde Islands. This thing just had a long history.
A lot of people forget about that.
We had a long history and a path of destruction, at least wind energy, waves, surf, and then in the Carolinas. You look at those heartbreaking pictures of those homes on the beach that were washed away. So, yeah, we talked about some big damage. I feel like Aaron should be at least meteorological, looking at the numbers and its impact on people. I would be in the camp that I could see it being retired. Aaron's been a name I think we've recycled since the very beginning, so it would be a big deal.
Actually, Aaron, it was Hurricane Aaron that passed New York City on 9/11 that led the skies being clear. And that's the reason why, if you look at video from 9/11, it's actually blue skies out there because a Hurricane Aaron passed. So that just shows you, this storm has been around. It's been through, it feels like multiple historical events, and I would say good riddance. If I see another Aaron out there.
So are you in Camp Aaron?
Again,
so are you in the camp then? You're thinking retirement?
I'm in camp. I'm in Camp Aaron being retired out here. It did. If it made landfall, 1,000%, but even without it making landfall, I think it broke up a bunch of records that it deserves to be kind of shelved for now.
Very good. Well, I love our discussions, and of course we do this tomorrow. We'll be back at 10:30 here. Robert Speta from Jacksonville. Can't thank you enough. And of course we've got the rounds of rain, downpours, and weather impact alerts going from coast to coast. That's why we're here for you. Keep tuning back in, and we'll of course keep you and your family safe, updated, calm, and collected. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, Mike. Thanks for stopping by with me.